Welcome to TradeTheMBA.com. This is John Supporters for the 13th of September. And you can see we're just about reaching the 100%, right back to the peak highs. We had the series of P3s in that. We're seeing just a little bit of softness from that steel now as the orange comes up. With the green dipping below, if this really were to accelerate, that would be the beginning of what you would expect for some softness. Contrary to it is that you do have the rising shakeout, so that's probably going to give you enough support to keep this thing still moving in the right direction. But I would imagine intraday we're probably going to see some more swings, particularly when you get to these kinds of highs. People get a little nervous unless it's just a super duper breakthrough. Then the momentum of that would carry it through, but probably a little late to see that take place, the excitement in the news, and that unless there's an actual deal for trade or something like that finalized. Probably just getting the impetus move that's already taken place. I don't know that that's going to generate more, but because we're really not seeing it, even though we've got the decent readings. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just when you start getting into breaching previous highs, it's going to take a little bit. So from the NQ standpoint, you can see it's a little bit weaker. Just doesn't quite have the strength, and it's been leading earlier, so we'll see if it's able to sustain anything. Not really from a positive extreme standpoint. We do have the yellow line, yellow extreme here, as well as the one from previously. And that's what caused a little bit of softness that we saw in between some of this move. And that's just kind of normal for this kind of breakout. You're just a little up, a little back, a little up, a little back. Draghi, well, in his farewell thing was a disaster, and then it wasn't a disaster, and the euro is skyrocketing. You can see that we did fill the positive, the dip below the red line here on the extreme histogram from below. Came all the way down on the break, and then everybody got involved, and central banks are just like, no, and boom, shot it all the way back up. And this time the big momentum move of that, pushing it up too near the 50% because we have falling highs, so it's going to be pulling price higher to it. So that was salvation for the year, but I don't see how it helps the EU any other than there's just an indication that there's going to be a limit to how long they will do QE. So it's sort of like a built-in stop, but it's only going to be going for a certain while, which that's just a convenience. But the reality is they've got no other choice because it's a disaster with what they're doing with their economies. So not really relevant. Oil, just right back into the range. We had pretty close to positive extremes with a couple of these. And this dip below the red line had already been filled, so this is just within normal trading range. And a lot of it's going to be, back and forth on draws, the economy, and we already know that the supply can be filled in very easily, so that becomes a little more problematic. But certainly the demand side is really what everyone's paying attention to, and rightfully so, because it really tells us the health of global economy. And gold, right at the baseline, had some positive extremes to fill from, going all the way back over here. And still above those at this particular time. Dip below the red line, so likely to see it come back to this 61% at least, even if it does pop up back from there. And intraday, this was just lazy nothing. I mean, literally range bound. Went to the tops here, came back to the bottoms of them, did that several times, a little bit higher on this second move, and then just a bit of a breakout from the close. Really was in soft readings. We're going to see spread from there, and it was just the steel kept rising. Came straight up, and at this particular point, it's in a weak position here with the steel below cyan and orange above. The only thing is that the cyan kept falling, so short's just not interested in even touching this. Otherwise, this would be considered a somewhat weak position. The fact that green moved above red helps keep it going. So we got gold rising through this, so that's what we're looking at right there, because I turned off the P2 on this while I was doing a couple of changes to it. So anyway, that's the long and the short of it. It's kind of just blah for this day or so, but still, overall, I think we're getting a lot of activity, and I think that's the most important part, is that the ranges are still decent. We're going to get these periodic gentle ones. This wasn't really even very effective because a lot of times every time we were getting the weaker signals, we were still getting pops. They would just come back and revisit them. I would expect we would dip below this red line that came on this positive turnaround. Still likely to get filled. It's just going to be some time before it does it, and appropriate signal. As always, though, if there's something unique or interesting, I will certainly put it on the Skype chat. Trade well. We'll talk to you later.